Let's talk the fear of failure. The fear of failure stops so many people in their tracks and keeps them from taking action and keeps them from achieving anything in life. The fear of failure keeps us playing small. It stops us from starting things, it stops us from finishing things, and it keeps us in a place of self-doubt. Now, the power of failing is so huge that if we don't change the relationship that we have with the word and the meaning of failure, then it can continuously keep us stuck. In today's video, I want to take you through what causes the fear of failure and how to overcome it. So there's a couple of different things we need to consider here. So the fear of failure is intertwined in a lot of other fears. So the fear of being seen as a failure, sometimes it's actually not the failure that causes the fear, it's actually what people might say. So it's the fear of being seen as a person of failing. Then there is avoiding pain from the past. Maybe there's an experience in the past where you've had that you failed or what you deem to be a failure and you don't want to relive that. That's normal, right? Of course you don't want to relive any form of pain. But if you don't deal with that now and work through it, it'll keep you continuously keeping you stuck. The other one is perfectionism. This is a really interesting one because a lot of the time people who have perfectionism think that that's not necessarily the fear of failure, but it's really intertwined because if we're constantly thinking about perfecting something before putting it out, we're fearing the fact that it won't be perfect, fearing the fact that it may be a failure and it may not work. So it's so intertwined with the fear of failure. Then we have the fear of judgment, so what people are going to say, right? So it's like in anything that we do, whether we're launching something new, putting something out there, speaking on a video, whatever it might be that you're doing in your business, if you're fearing what people are going to say and that judgment, that's also a concept considered with the fear of failure. And the last one is looking incompetent. So when we connect ourselves to being such a high achiever or we continuously believe about ourselves that we are good at what we do, then we fear being put in the beginner's seat and we fear then actually failing because then our identity will be challenged, right? So that's very intertwined with a lot of other fears, but also who we believe we are. So right down to our core. So it is normal to fear that. And the reason for that is that our brain wants to keep us safe, right? And the way that our brain keeps us safe is that it would rather you do nothing. It would rather you not take that action towards the unknown. It would rather you keep yourself safe, stay inside, don't do anything different, right? Because uncertainty creates a fear around danger. So the brain determines safety and security through certainty. So if we're certain of an outcome, then we're more likely to take action on it, right? We're confident, we know what's going to happen. We're totally aware of what the outcome will be, so we'll usually take action towards it. But the thing is the opposite, right? So the fear of failure is keeping us stuck because there is no certainty. So our brain is searching for the certainty, and if there isn't any, then it becomes a fear of survival. It goes into danger mode. It goes into that fight or flight response, right? So the fear, literally the blood runs from our brain, it goes to our extremities, sets up the body with the right chemicals to either run or to fight. It literally is fearful of what's going to happen, fearful of the unknown. So it is a normal human response for us to fear failure because in this day and age, our lives aren't in danger the way that it were when our brains were developed back in the prehistoric world. But, right, we're not running away from saber-toothed tigers anymore, but the fear of danger, the fear of unsafety, the fear of danger that we may not survive comes across as judgment, right? And if we fail and we're judged for that, that affects who we are as a person, and that is really unsafe in the minds of the brain. So what's really important is that we start to change the relationship with failure and start to think about how we can develop more certainty, and I'll give you some insights on how to do that. So the first thing you need to really work on is changing your relationship with what you make failure mean. Failure, the word specifically, is most likely connected in your brain to a lot of other situations where you've experienced failure, right? So if you make it mean that you're going to fail and that you're setting yourself up with, if I put this out and it doesn't work, then I'm a failure, then your brain is not wanting you to take any action towards it. It wants you to stay safe. So if you change the relationship with what it means to fail, what it means for things to not work out, it changes the level of fear in the brain. So I want you to consider what you make it mean. Failure is the stepping stone to success. You cannot succeed, you cannot make progress without failing. If you're not failing, you're most likely not trying. So it's really important that you start to think about how you really make the word failure mean in your mind. I don't like to even use the word failure, and obviously I'm using it a lot for this video because I feel like this is how everybody really thinks about it. But when you consider it, by changing it, eradicate it from your vocabulary and start to use different words like, this is me learning something new. This is me testing something. I'm testing and measuring and seeing what works and what doesn't work. And that's always going to continuously support you in making progress. Whereas if we keep ourselves stuck of not trying things and not finishing things, then we're always going to be left in a place of uncertainty with no information. Whereas if I said to myself, I'm going to test this and just see what happens, then the brain's like, oh, okay, so we're just testing it. So it's not the real thing. It kind of rationalizes, right, the fear and we kind of go, well, our brain then goes, what have I tried in the past? What are some things that I've tested in the past? And that wasn't dangerous. I didn't die, so I'm going to survive this test. So then it's much easier. Your brain doesn't go into the fight or flight response, and you can take action without the overarching, the big black cloud of danger over the top of you. So really think about how you can use a different word, different language around the word failure, because I don't believe there is such a thing as failure. Because every single day we're taking different actions, we're doing different things, and we're getting different results. It's the only way that we learn. So it's really important that when you consider failure, that it's actually not the end. I think when we think about failure, it becomes this be all and end all, that if I fail, that it will be the end of my life, right? So nothing ever is going to happen after that fact, which isn't true. We have failed and done things throughout our past so many times, and we failed at so many things, yet we get to choose what we make it mean. And we also get to choose to decide to take the lesson from it or not. Because sometimes we just go, I'm going to avoid that ever happened, not going to think about it, not going to process the emotion I feel when that happened, and I'm going to shut it and I'm going to suppress it. Now, that doesn't necessarily work long term, because then when you then step outside your comfort zone to try something new, your brain will recollect that time and go, remember, you failed. You may fail again. So that's always going to keep you stuck. So it's really important that we process the emotion from the past. So if this is resonating with you and you're like, yes, I've definitely had experiences in the past where I've failed and that's caused a lot of pain for me. And yes, I may not have processed the emotion at the time. And I feel like every time I go to take action now, I feel stuck. Then that's a real big indicator that you need to heal the past. You need to go back there. You need to think about it, journal on it, write it out, go through exactly what you felt, process the emotion, allow it out of your body. Otherwise, it will just continue to come back and plague you. So working through the healing of the past is a really important step, especially if you've experienced major failure in the past. And then change what you're going to make it mean for the future. That every single step you take is a work in progress. That every single time you take action, it's you working towards your goals, right? So change the language that you're using when you're describing what you're about to do. And know that for you to be able to succeed, for you to be able to learn even, we need to be okay with being a beginner. And if we've struggled with failing in the past, so say if when we grew up as children, and say our parents or our families encouraged us to fail and that it was okay, mistakes were okay, then usually in our adulthood, then it's okay that we kind of see failure a different way because we've been conditioned to know that failure isn't a bad thing. Whereas if it's the opposite, when you were a child growing up and your parents ridiculed you for doing something wrong, or they actually took over what you were doing because you weren't good at what you were doing, like any type of subliminal messaging there is basically saying that you're a failure. It's setting you up for believing that failure is a bad thing. But failure is not a bad thing. It's a great thing. There is so much that you can learn from it if we choose to take the lessons from it. So allow yourself the space to recollect those times that you've experienced some form of failure, and then go back and extract the lessons. Go back and think, okay, what did I learn here? How did I grow? What did I learn about myself through this? There is so much awareness that we can develop around failure when we go back and really relive without, delving into the pain of it. You don't need to do that, but you do need to go back and really think through those times and what you learned through it and what you got out of it. Because I guarantee you, it strengthened you. It built your resilience. It gave you the ability to learn something new about yourself. So use those lessons to help develop your strength to be able to move forward in the next stages of your life. The next part I want to go through with you is the interesting concept around our comfort zone, right? So we have our comfort zone, and I'm sure you've heard lots of people talk about our comfort zone, but in our comfort zone, we have every single experience we've ever had in our lives. We have all of our beliefs and our values. We have all of our upbringing, all of our conditioning, all of our goals, our dreams, and all those times that we've set a goal and maybe not achieved it and kind of gave up on ourselves. All of those things going on in our comfort zone, which, and just outside the comfort zone is the fear zone, which is what a lot of people think, right? So we have the comfort zone and then outside is the fear zone. But I actually believe that outside is actually the learning zone. So for you, and then above that, so you go to the comfort zone, then the learning zone, and then you go to the growth zone. So if you want to grow and expand and be a new version of you, we need to go through the comfort zone to the learning zone, out to the growth zone. So we need to be okay with being a beginner. We need to know that there is going to be a little bit of fear because as we're learning, there's new things, there's the unknown, we don't know what's going to happen, and we need to grow through it and feel it and do it anyway, right? So push through, get yourself into that learning zone and just be kind to yourself, because usually that's when the inner critic starts to go crazy. It starts to be really quite mean to us. But if we take literally the driver's seat back and just say, hey, look, I'm learning here. It's okay if I make mistakes, and you're going to get it. You're going to figure this out. And just be gentle with yourself as you learn. And then know that through that repetition of learning something new, the more you practice it, then you build competence, then you build confidence, and that's when the fear is eradicated, right? So we need to grow and learn through that phase of the learning phase before we get to the growth phase. We can't then expand ourselves unless we've pushed through that fear phase and gotten into that learning phase to know that we can figure something out. So learning to develop new beliefs that help support you throughout that learning zone is that it's okay to be a beginner. I'm going to learn through this. I'm learning, I'm reading, I'm understanding, and the more I do it, the easier it will become. So support yourself with kinder words, and it'll help support you in taking those next steps. And then from there, what's the most important part is that once you have the awareness around it and you understand where that fear is coming from, and you've changed your relationship with the word failure and you start to make it mean something different, it's important that you now start to take action, because you need to prove those old beliefs wrong, right? You need to decide now that failure is not the end, that failure is just the beginning, and you get to test and measure and just learn and grow and expand yourself as you go. And then go and fail multiple times. Set yourself up and try new things and push yourself outside your comfort zone. And the more you do that, the more confidence you build, the more competence you will build, as well as more strength and more resilience and more grit to just keep on going. And that is where success is going to lie. You cannot get there without failing. So I hope today's video has really changed your belief systems around what you believe failure to be, and helps you to shift the old stuff from the past and start moving towards your dreams with new passion and purpose. And I want you to know the worst thing that can happen is that you may feel bad. If something doesn't work, you get to choose to make it mean whatever you want to make it mean. You can be like, okay, that didn't work, I'll try something else. Or you can make it mean the end of the world. That's your choice. So make sure that you choose what's going to best serve you. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you feel so moved to share it with your friends and family members, then please do. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope this has helped shifted your feeling around the word failure and starts to encourage you to take action and move towards your dreams. Have an amazing day.